welcome to another episode of Conversations with Cupid. I am your host, Marla Martenson, and I am with Rashana from Canada.
Hi, I'm delighted to be here.
Yay! You guys, I'm so excited to have Rashana here. One of the most fun things about having a YouTube channel is meeting amazing people, and Rashana actually commented on one of my videos, and then we got in touch, and now we're doing this video, and I did a session with her. I'm going to tell you what she does. She's amazing. She is the founder of the Freedom Release Technique, and she developed this after years of personal development and training, because you're a Reiki master, a certified hypnotherapist, and trained in alternative therapies. So, she's also a channel for the Council of Nine, right?
Right.
Okay, this is amazing. She does all these cool things, and then we're going to talk about her new book. But talk about this freedom release thing that you developed, because it is so cool. I did a whole hour with her, and I taped it, and it's just so transformative. It's kind of not only releasing things, but she's doing some kind of coaching as well. So, explain what it is.
Okay. Well, the beauty of it, too, is that it can be unique, of course, for the individual that I'm working with. But fundamentally, the Freedom Release Technique came out of my own personal, very intense determination to change my life and get out of the rut that I was in. And so I started doing a lot of clearing work. And I did that intensely for about a year and a half with a friend who did theta healing, so he was helping me with it. And then I was offering a workshop. It's called the Discover Your Light Workshop, and it's all about discovering the patterns within ourselves so that we can clear and release them. And I was using another method of clearing, and someone from the workshop said to me, Rashana, why don't you develop your own clearing technique? And instead of just dismissing that as how would I ever do that, I decided to take it seriously, and I went into meditation a couple of days later and connected with Thoth, Hermes, and said, okay, I want to develop my own technique. And I heard the words, may all be revealed. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't quite sure what to do with that. I thought maybe it would come to me in a couple of days, and it didn't. So I went back into meditation, and I was told just take whatever the presenting issue is and ask that question. So I did. And I think because I'm a channel and I'm intuitive, when I asked that question, I found far off in the distance I had a sense of something going on from the past. And so it developed from there. So what the technique actually does is I'm able to go to the very core belief of what's creating the concern that you have in your life. So there's a lot of talk now about affirmations and changing our thoughts. But what I came to realize is that underneath all of our thoughts is our core beliefs that are often very hidden, they're subconscious, and many of them are limiting beliefs that are holding us back. So no matter how hard we try to make changes and we use our affirmations and we're determined to move forward, we get stuck. And so I'm able to actually go see where that core belief was created, and then I release it and clear it. And then the third step is restoring it into something that's actually beneficial. So it's actually changing the cellular memory in your body. And that's why the technique, almost everyone feels a difference with only one session, because you're actually restructuring the cells of the body and the memories that your cells are holding into what was something negative into something positive.
And that's amazing. And can we also hold things in our body from past lives too, that you could release because we might not realize?
Exactly. And I feel that the energy of the earth is shifting. We're moving up in our vibrational level. And I feel that as that's happening, we're actually becoming closer to our past life experiences. So I feel like people are even more influenced than we used to be by our past lives. So almost every session I do goes into at least one past life because it's prevalent, and until we shift it, it actually is like a cellular memory that we carry with us into the following lifetimes until we finally figure it out and break the cycle.
And I
which
heard
is
somebody describing past lives really as more stacked, kind of a circular. It's not really like linear. It's so when they say time is not really like we think it is and all things are happening at once. So if you kind of think of it as kind of stacked, it could make sense that things are repeating and you came here to learn with the same soul family or people issues. And so it's interesting because I had a reading with a channel, and we were talking about my husband. He's very almost that takes that caregiver role. Like he'll even say by accident, "Yeah, you're my daughter," or something. You're like my daughter. And in past life, they said we had that relationship where he was actually my owner because I was like a servant to him and indentured, and so he took charge, and he has that take charge personality, and especially with me, and I think that's coming up, and I can kind of feel it. That my point here is it makes sense. It feels right, like that
right.
like, yeah, well, I know you. You were bossing me around last time too.
I know, it's so interesting. Like, my daughter was actually my mother in another lifetime. And it was so cute when she was little, when I was doing the 1, 2, 3 thing. That didn't last very long because the day that she started counting to me, 1, 2, it's like, oh no, we're done. But she takes on that role sometimes of trying to, have a motherly presence with me. So yeah, we definitely bring that in and carry it.
Yeah.
And what happens sometimes too is that because we've had that strong feeling of past lives together, sometimes we move into relationship. This was the example with my marriage, where we think we're meant to be together, but we're really just remembering a past life, and it doesn't necessarily mean we're supposed to have a strong connection in this lifetime.
I know, and some people you think, oh my gosh, you have this big crush on somebody, or you went out with them and it didn't work out and you're wondering why, or should we be together, is it my soulmate? And it could be we're just crossing paths again in this time, and many times we've crossed paths, and oh yes, we cross paths again, and there's some reasons there. Yeah, and then when you do your technique, I notice that you're really connecting with guides. You're getting messages for the person too.
Yeah, so what I do is I connect with the higher self of the other person. So that way, when I'm doing the restoring, which is putting in the beneficial replacement of the negative pattern, it's actually coming from the higher soul of the person that I'm working with. So it's not me.
So it's me. You're tapping into what I know already, but I can't tap into, or maybe haven't yet.
Yeah.
So the channel. Go ahead.
It's actually another potential that was available to you at that point in time. So even if it's a past life, when I'm doing restore, it's like it was a positive potential that your soul didn't make at that time, but we can go back and rearrange that.
Wow, that's fascinating. Now, another thing that's so fascinating is, there's so much I want to talk about, but so you connect with. I love trees. I mean, I grew up in Seattle, Washington. Among the trees in the woods, catching pollywogs and making forts and hiking, and the trees are so much more than just a tree standing there. I mean, their roots go down into the ground and they give us oxygen and information, and you can even connect with a tree, right? So tell us a little bit more about trees and what information, how you connect with a tree and what you can get from it.
Okay. Well, it came as a surprise to me. One day I was sitting under this hemlock tree in a beautiful stand of hemlock near a pond. It feels like a very powerful spot in the woods that I had discovered when I had moved to this new town. And at the time I was also channeling writing a book. And so I was used to connecting. And I think that's why perhaps when I sat at the base of this tree, I sensed her inviting me into conversation. So I just connected, and she asked me to get a journal and be her scribe. And so I would go and sit at this tree, and she was sharing her wisdom with me. And I think many of us probably have this ability, but we dismiss it because it can sound like your own voice. But if you start writing, the message is very different.
Right.
So she shared with me things that are really, truly profound and so much love. And so what she has told me is that the trees are there supporting us. So they are energetic beings. They have wisdom. They have knowing. And actually, one time I asked her, you're a tree. she told me to call her Henrietta, so her name is Henrietta. And I said, you're a tree, how can you have all this wisdom? And she said to me, we tap into the potential of the all that is, that's in the ethers. And she said, humans do this too, we have just forgotten. And not very long after that, it was fascinating. I was watching a Greg Braden interview on YouTube from 2012. And he was invited to the lab of certain scientists that were studying the brain. And these scientists were actually thinking that memory is not stored in the brain because they've actually destroyed every different aspect of the brain and people still have memory. So they believe that the brain is like an antenna that retrieves memory from the field, which is exactly what Henrietta had told me. So I found that fascinating. So yes, I wrote a book called Conversations with a Tree, which is just a collection of messages from Henrietta. And she's given me wisdom about relationship and about our health and what the trees provide for us. And another time, it was close to December 21st, 2012. I think it was the 19th. And I was feeling really out of sorts. So I just decided to go for a walk in the woods. And as soon as I got to the woods, I felt better. And so when I finally got to Henrietta on the trail, I just asked her what was going on. And she said, I was picking up on the mass consciousness of fear because a lot of people felt the world was going to end on December 21st, 2012. They didn't have the understanding of what that meant. And I was picking up on that mass fear. And she said, as soon as you came in the woods, you felt better because trees only hold love. They don't hold fear. Now, and I'm sure that's why so many of us feel better when we go there.
So how did the trees feel about being cut down and made into furniture and houses and things like that, and firewood?
Well, it's interesting because she actually addressed that, and she said trees aren't like humans. We can't run away from what is, so we accept what is. And she actually said if we see someone coming with a saw in their hand, we understand that we're going to serve the earth in a new way now. She said maybe as firewood to warm them at the fire, maybe as a piece of furniture, and she said we're actually happy to serve in that way. And she said humanity would do well to understand the gift that we are being given, not for the sake of the trees, because they're just happy to do what is happening, but for the sake of us to have better, deeper gratitude for the gifts that we have, you know, the piece of furniture that's enhancing our home or the warmth of the fire from the wood. So they accept what is.
Yeah. Now, as I'll have to bring this up because as a vegan, you know, the animals with central nervous system, sentient, intelligent beings that, you know, my dog knows 12 tricks and she talks to me and stuff, and pigs are smarter than dogs, they say, and people, this for the humans, I guess, to wrap their mind around the horrors that are going on in factory farms and to allow them to keep consuming this and turning a blind eye, they will use that excuse. Yeah, but, you know, what about plants? They, you know, they're living beings and you're killing the plant. So if you could just, I don't know if you're vegan or what you think about it, but I think there's a big difference than eating a carrot and torturing an animal at a factory farm and then slicing it up, you know. So.
I think torture is the key word, right?
Yeah.
You know, like there is research that dates back to the 70s that show that plants, Cleve Baxter, who was a CIA expert in I'm forgetting the name of the machine where you do like a lie detector test. He actually hooked it up to his plant, and he had the thought of burning his plant. He hadn't even gone to get the matches, and it went off the chart. His plant was responding to the thought. So plants, you know, if we pull a carrot out of the ground, there is some thought in that plant that it knows that it's probably dying. But
the carrot's gonna die pretty soon anyway. It'll rot if you don't eat it.
It'll rot in the ground, yeah.
Very quickly,
You know, is I believe in the native traditions, the First Nations traditions, when people killed animals, they would connect with the spirit and ask the herd to sacrifice one of the animals because the people needed to eat. That's a whole different story from the way animals are treated when, you know, they're the way they're being killed today to produce food in mass quantities. So I think that's the difference really is if an animal gives itself to feed us and we have reverence for that and honor for that, I think that's a whole different story.
Okay. And
Yeah.
this channeling, I just want to touch on this before we end about now. Did the channeling, that's my favorite subject. Everybody knows me that that's my hot topic right now. I've just spent a weekend with a channeler and I interview a lot of channelers and I channel on I have a talking board where I channel messages on it, but I'm not off the board channeling. Now, how did you, and I'm a Reiki and crystal healer and I noticed my vibration going up. Was it after you became a Reiki master and started getting all these attunements that you were able to open up and channel? How did this happen for you?
It happened out of a deep desire to be able to do it.
Okay.
So it was actually before I became a Reiki master. And I just had this deep yearning. And I actually think I was a channel and just wasn't recognizing it. It's almost like I wanted it so badly I was pushing it away.
Mm-hmm.
But I had read a book by Sanaya Roman called Opening to Channel.
I have that book. That's a great book, yeah.
Yeah, well, the first time I tried channeling where she says, get a tape recorder and do that, I felt so ridiculous talking out loud. But I did receive a message, and actually I asked who the message was from, and I got the name Rashana, and years later realized it was a higher aspect of myself and changed my name to Rashana.
Oh, okay.
But that very first time it was there, but I dismissed it. Like I was very concerned about bringing through messages that would lead someone astray or not be the truth. Mm-hmm. And in 2010, I decided that I was going to write a book and I was going to gather questions from people and channel the answers. And so I did this. So lots of people sent me questions and I would send them back the answer I received. And inevitably, everybody would say how right on it was or how it felt like a healing for them or how much love they felt. And so finally I acknowledged that I have this ability and that I am a channel. And then I was in meditation one day and the Council of Nine actually came to me and asked me to be their scribe and to write the book, The Spiritual Seeker's Guide to Happiness.
Oh, wonderful. And what kind of a channel are you? Are you a conscious channel or do you have your eyes closed? Do you hear it or are you like in the back seat and you have to hear it on the tape recorder later? Or
no, I am a conscious channel, like I'm aware of what I'm doing. I may not remember everything I say, but I am aware as it's coming through.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. And do you have any groups that you channel for, or do you have people over and do little channeling groups? Or
it's interesting because I have a friend who I did a channeling for her in 2013, and she just found the tape again and listened to it, and she said, Rashana, like, you need to be doing more channeling, because she was moved to tears again listening to it 2-3 years later. So I've decided I've just moved to a new community, and I've decided that I'm going to start putting it out there and doing monthly channeling circles. And
that's
adding
awesome.
sounding circles
and
to it.
And it's so amazing how many people are channeling now. Like you said, the earth is the vibration is shifting and moving up, and people are connecting with the other side, and the veil is very thin, and we're getting those wonderful messages from non-physical now, and they can really help us. And I mean, I think years ago, not that long ago, people would have thought a channel, some weirdo or something, or they wouldn't. And still, there's people who haven't heard of it, or I know that there's certain people that probably think I've lost my marbles, the things that I'm interested in or into or trying to work with. But, I think it's just fantastic how we can tap in. And like you said, the messages are profound. I went on my board today, for an example, I said, this morning, I said, hey, Mirth, to my angel, can you give me just a quick message on love? Because it's February, the month of love, and this came through. Love is divine and angelic. Rest assured that the angels love you, and you must be vigilant in loving yourself. Many blessings, dear ones, and many angel kisses. Mirth signing off from the 7th dimension. XOXO.
Nice.
And I wouldn't have made that up. So
that message about loving the self,
yes.
Like that's the entire focus of the 350-page book that was channeled from the Council of Nine. Is they said we have to learn to love ourselves now because we're creating faster too in this new energy, and if we're not creating from a place of love, we don't like what we see, what we're creating. We have to be loving ourselves in order to create the beautiful life that we want to be living.
Yeah, and as a matchmaker, that's what I'm dealing with every day. People coming to me to find love, but a lot of the times they're putting that job in my lap, and as if they're ordering up, a Happy Meal or a new car, with leather seats or air conditioning, and I'm like, if you haven't done some work on yourself and love yourself, no matter who I introduce you to, it's probably not going to work in the end, even though I've had some marriages and things, and there are some people who are working on themselves, but a large percentage of people out there searching forget that component. to work on
Right.
themselves first and love themselves first.
From being your job to the partner's job, and inevitably that partner's going to fail them.
Yes, yes.
And they don't see that it's just mirroring back to them something within themselves. Yeah.
Right. So that self-love is great. And getting and back to the channeling, it's really the message. If the message sounds loving, if it's positive, then that's the important thing of it. Whether people believe it's really channeling from another dimension or not, it's that wonderful message that we can use.
Yes.
Yeah.
And most often in channeling, they won't just say, go do this on Friday over here.
No.
Like they won't direct your life for you, give you some guidance, but, if it's do this, then I would make sure that you clear the channels and make sure you're getting a loving connection. That's really important.
And what dimension are the Council of Nine in? Do they say where they are? What dimension?
I've never asked that before, but I'm hearing the seventh dimension right now.
Seventh is where the angels are and things like that.
Well,
lovely. Awesome. Well, Rashana, thank you so much for stopping by and sharing all of your wisdom and sparkly, beautiful energy.
Thank you. It was lots of fun. Thanks for inviting me.